No, cat.
Yes.
Dog.
Look, so we have a combination.
I
But-
love all.
But we have no
cats.
rabbit, guinea pig, snake, rodent group here. So I'm not gonna focus on those animals. I'm gonna focus basically on dogs and cats. And my objective is to get people to look at dog and cat foods like you do human foods. Learn how to read the ingredient panels, see what you're getting, do the research, because it's very important. There's a huge variation in the quality of pet foods out there. I mean, look at dogs and cats, you got significant difference between the two. A dog is essentially an omnivore, which means it can eat most things. From meat, to vegetables, to fruits, to, in case of my Rottweiler, screws and nails, and, and it can eat everything, it can eat most things. And a cat, obligate carnivore, okay, doesn't eat any carbohydrate. It's really a meat eater, and strictly a meat eater, so you want cat foods to be particularly high in meat protein. And if you look at a cat's mouth compared to a dog's mouth, you look at the dentation. Most cats, if you look at their teeth, they're mostly sharp pointed teeth. You don't get the flat molars which you will have if you look at a dog's mouth, so they can chew that. Now, having said that, well, dogs are omnivores. I tend to look at them as carnivorous omnivores, and that they like meat, and meat protein is actually much better for them than vegetable proteins. And a lot of that goes to the creation of taurine, which is an amino acid in the body, which taurine is formed in the body from meat proteins. So you want to have meat protein. Now, taurine was never actually considered an essential nutrient for dogs. But as we learn more about nutrition every day, people are seeing now that it actually is an important nutrient for dogs. Okay? When you look at dog food is regulated by 3 agencies, or what I'll call sub-agencies. We all know about the FDA, Food and Drug Administration. Food and Drug Administration regulates essentially the food as it gets into your retail store and gets to your home. Looking basically at labeling, packaging, food safety. Down the road, or upstream on the manufacturing process, you've got the USDA, U.S. Department of Agriculture. They're looking at the meat coming from the grower to the producer, to the factory, and making sure that that is, at the right stamp with the 8 inspectors they have in another country. Okay. And last of all is something that most people don't know about, and that's called AAFCO. AAFCO. AAFCO is the Association of American Feed Control Officials. Each state has a feed control official. And AAFCO is an accumulation of these 52 feed control officials. And what they do is they set the standards as what should be in a dog food. Now, each state has the right to either accept those standards, change those standards. Most states accept the standards as they are. And when we look at that handout, I won't say every, but most bags and cans of cat food will have a statement from AAFCO on it. And the statement will say this food is formulated to meet the requirements for growth, or the requirements for maintenance, or all life stages, plus the needs of puppies that are going to be 70 pounds or more at adult. So that's what AAFCO does. So it's an important thing to look at when you're buying food, especially if you have a puppy or a large breed dog. How is that food rated? Regardless of what the manufacturer puts on it. There's always, in this kind of business, there's always a warning. In this case, it's the word feed versus the word food. Feed is defined as what you feed an animal. Food is defined as what you feed a human. Big difference. For example, feed can include euthanized animals under the law. Okay? So you can't have that in food being produced for your dog. So one of the things you always try to look at is who is making the stuff that you're feeding your dog. What's their reputation? Okay? You can go online, you can see all the comments on them. You can read the bags. See what the company says about their own food. always understanding that they're going to tell you why it's good. They're not going to tell you why it might not be good. So you have to always look at it with a grain of salt, but you get another tidbit of information of what's good and what's not good about it. And so when you're buying, it's important to read the ingredients. How much meat's in it? How much filler is in it? How much binder is in it? If you're doing a dry food has got to be balanced, stay together. You need something that's sticky to hold it together. It could be grain, it could be legumes. Grain and legumes are the most common, and it could be, there could be a lot of it in there, a little bit in there. If you're reading a label, just like human food, you're talking about the declining weight of the food pre-cooked. So you start, let's say with chicken, first ingredient. Then you have 7 different types of rice. Now, chicken, that first ingredient, before it's cooked, 80% water. Now you're going to cook the dog food, you're going to dry it. That water percent is going to go from 80 to about 10. How much weight is coming out? And after that weight comes out, is it still the first ingredient? There's no way of knowing that. So, you have a lot of preferences when you look at labels. What I like to see is meat as the first ingredient and a meat meal as the second ingredient. A meat meal is chicken, for example, that's been dehydrated. So most of the water is taken out, so it's a concentrated protein source. So now that you have a meat and a meat meal, that there's going to be significant protein in the food.
Is a meat meal the same as a meat byproduct?
No.
No.
Meat meal is exactly, if you see chicken on the ingredient panel, chicken meal is the exact same thing as that chicken with the water taken out. Now, asking if the byproduct is a good question. Whether you see chicken or chicken meal, what's defined as chicken and chicken meal is pretty broad. Chicken includes the meat, the connective tissue, the feet, the bones, and the skin. Okay, that's all included under the term chicken. Now, when a company buys chicken meal to put in their food, there are multiple grades of meal. And now you're depending again on who's making it, what's their reputation. They just go out and get the cheapest meal possible, or do they really have an interest in the food? So if you look at the handout, and this is from a dog food that's sold in this area, very popular dog food. Let me look at the ingredients. Chicken's the first ingredient. Chicken meal is the second ingredient. Chicken broth is the third ingredient. So you're getting a big amount of chicken. Then we're looking at oats, barley, and rice. Those are the binders holding it together. This is actually a grain included food. Okay? Then once you get past 9th or 10th ingredient, you worry a little bit less about them because they're not a lot of it in the mix. But as you go down here, you'll see things like celery, alfalfa meal, sweet potatoes. This food also has duck and lamb, but duck and lamb are down about the 11th and 12th ingredient, so there's not a lot of duck and lamb in there. You always got to understand that when you're looking at it. It's got duck and lamb. It's got 6 ounces. Okay, duck and lamb. So they're probably doing that to build protein a little bit. Now, when you look at this kind of ingredient panel, and then you look at the protein level is 25%, how much of the protein is coming from meat? Can't tell from this, but it's something that's important to know. And one of the ways that you can find this out, there's an 800 number on every bag. Manufacturer's customer service line. Don't hesitate to use it. And if you don't feel that you pulled and you're getting what you need from there, go to your retailer and have them do it. And they're knowledgeable, so when they talk to these people, they're talking the same language, and they will get the information you need. But you want that to be 70 or 80% of that protein to come from meat, not to come from the barley or the oats or the rice, all of which are protein sources. And when we look at grains, there's always been this thing that grains are bad for dogs. And you should use grain-free foods. That was all done from pet food manufacturers' marketing departments. Because good grains are no worse than using a legume in the food. You try to stay away from grains like corn. Not digestible. You eat corn in the cob, you find it in the stool. Same thing with a dog. A lot of protein in the gluten. Wheat, same thing. Ton of protein in wheat gluten. So a lot of manufacturers will use that as cheap protein to put in the food. You don't want that. But people who start making grain-free foods do the same thing. There's a load of protein in peas. So they load it up with peas, cheap, much cheaper than meat. Protein gets up to 35% in the food. But most of it is coming from the peas. So you're not getting the benefit of the meat protein. So we always advocate, find out how much of that protein is from meat, and stick with the foods where the protein is predominantly from meat. We like to see in the food the carbohydrate percent be less than 40. Now you'll see some, the AVMA, for example, the American Veterinary Medical Association, says carb percent ranges from 30 and 70. If you feed your dog a food with 70% carbohydrate, I guarantee you it's going to type 2 diabetes within 2 years. Under 40. The higher the meat, the lower the carbs, is what you're looking for. Same thing as when you feed yourself. If you're eating a high sugar diet, it's not going to be as good for you as eating a high protein diet. So look at that. Very, very important. The other thing you'll see on here, and I'm going to refer you to the back, and it's also on every bag and can, is the calorie content. When we look at how fattening it is to a dog, it's not the fat percent that's governing. It's the amount of calories per cup or per kilogram. And they'll always show it as calories per kilogram and calories per cup. They don't usually show you on the bag calories per pound. But you can go to the website, you can get calories per pound. Okay, so you're looking at this food is 418. 418 is moderate calorie count for adult food. They run between 360 and 475. Once you get on the 360, you're looking more at a low fat, at a low diet type food. Some will call it low fat, some will call it weight management, some will call it weight control. They can't call it light unless it's below 310 on the FDA regulations. So they'll call it weight management, they'll call it, low calorie, they'll call it a bunch of different things. Overweight dogs. Overweight dogs are a major problem today. What's the best way of dealing with an overweight dog? Feed him less. You don't necessarily need a low-cal food. Feed him less. Look at your treats. Okay? I got people buying light dog foods, and then they'll go to the treat department and they'll get a bag, a fistful of treats. Okay? The same thing as us. Watch the treats. Watch the calories in the food. Obese dogs are a big problem. Joint pressure, diabetes, pressure on the heart, all of that is a factor of weight. So it's very important that you watch that. And you can get that information right on the bag. So there's a lot you can get from the bag. There's a lot you can get from the internet. And whatever you can't get from the bag of the internet, you get from calling the manufacturer. And believe it or not, their customer service people are very friendly. They usually try to give you the answers you want. And as I said, if you can't get to it, go to where you bought the food from, have them do it. We have a lot of people in addition to them that we can go to get answers. We're very serious about animal health in this industry and in our organization. So we want you to have the right information to act on it. So that's really what the whole business of reading labels are. Then there's the whole thing about grain versus grain-free. For 10 years, grains are bad, grain-free was good. Now, grain-free is bad, and grains are good. Because this whole thing with cardiomyopathy, which is, in my opinion, kind of unproven. There's no scientific links. But like one veterinarian, chief veterinarian from a company called Formina, said at a lecture, we actually know less. We know less than we know about this whole topic. About how food is metabolized in the body of dogs and cats. You know, there's tons and tons of research that needs to be done to get the optimal food mix. So, again, feed reasonable. Don't stay away from a grain-free food if you're on a grain, the dog's on it and it's doing well. There's no reason to. Stay away from foods that are high grain. And if you look at the whole cardiomyopathy issue, the science behind it is a lack of absorption of taurine. Taurine's an amino acid, heart health. It works for fatty liver. It's great for ringing in the ears, great for eyes. Very good amino acid. Taurine is formed in the body from mucosa. You can look at your bag of food. I think if you look at this one, you'll see taurine was added. Ingredient was the other one. Taurine was added to the bottom of the list. Most food that's meat intense will have enough taurine just from the meat that's in the food. However, if you don't add it, you can't put it on the list. And today, people want on the list. But when you look at a low meat content food, some of the grocery brands, for example, if you're low meat content, you can't make that much taurine in the body. So you want taurine to be made naturally in the body. It's much better to get natural nutrients than to get synthetic nutrients. So when you look again, look for foods that have a lot of the right ingredients that are going to give you natural nutrients. There are foods that don't have an AFCO statement because they use whole ingredients and they're getting all the vitamins and minerals from the ingredients. Well, none of it's on the label. But these foods are some of the better foods that you can feed. Now, I'm not going to go brands here, but they're out there, and they are some of the better things you can feed. Just don't get caught up with the advertising and on the TV set. Everyone's going to advertise they got the best thing in creation. There are companies who've been advertising and they find that the ingredients are false when they tested them. Okay? If a company's spending half their budget on advertising, they're not putting it in the food. So let's keep that in mind. I'm a very big fan. The company who makes the food should be the company on the bag. Doesn't happen all the time. Particularly, it doesn't happen with cans. Those canneries are so expensive to build and operate. So most cans are made by some other company than actually is on the can. A few companies have their own canneries, and they make their own stuff. Always a preference, because when something goes wrong, you don't have this kind of pointing back and forth that it's his fault, it's his fault, it's his fault. If you own the factory and you're making the food, the only person's fault could be is yours. So it's accountability, which I find very, very important. I like food companies that are not owned by private equity investors, that are not owned by large corporations. Who are the three biggest manufacturers of pet food today?
Blue?
Purina.
Here's one.
Friskies.
Well, actually, Nestle is one.
Nestle.
Nestle?
Hmm?
They put marshmallows.
Nestle owns Purina. Who else? Hmm?
For pets, Friskies.
Friskies is made by Nestle.
By Nestle, no?
Who else? They make jam and jelly. Smuckers is the second largest pet food company in the country, from acquisitions they have made over the last 2 years. They're the two biggest. Who's the third one? Colgate Palmolive.
Huge company,
Yeah. You think they're really
No.
dedicated, interested in helping your dog? Or are they more interested in the health of their bottom line?
Money more than.
So we like companies that are family-owned, smaller companies, where they're really interested in helping your dog because that's how they're going to make money. They can't compete with the bigger companies like Smuckers. I still have a hard time saying that. Okay. I saw them at a trade show one day. I said, "When do we get the peanut butter and jelly flavor?"
How about the bones? What type of bones, like for a dog?
Bones are
Lion
generally
bones,
good
I
for
mean, I know
dogs, they get
chicken
them to
bones.
chew on, you know, they get the thing to keep a little bit. Once you put heat to a bone, it becomes weaker.
Becomes.
Weaker.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Weaker?
Weaker, becomes weaker. And one of the best bones to chew are raw bones, which you can get from butcher. They're also available commercially. Dehydrated bones are the second. But once you smoke them, make sure you got the biggest bone the dog can handle, because that's gonna be strong. Okay, because they can crack. What happens is they'll crack down the side. And once you see the bone cracking, you gotta take it away. He swallows it, you can end up with intestinal obstruction, or worse, you can get an intestinal cut. You have a question?
Well, I was gonna say, I have bought, they're made for like soup stock, the bones that come wrapped.
Mm.
They don't always have them in the supermarket, but like ShopRite and Stop and Shop will sometimes have them
Mhm.
available in the meat area.
As long as they're raw, they're fine.
They're raw, and I
Mhm.
give it as a treat, and he
Mhm.
really does go nuts.
Yeah.
I had a
Mhm.
question about the difference between, dogs and cats.
Mhm.
Cause cats are, they're complete carnivores.
Yeah, they can eat some carbohydrate. You don't need it. They don't digest it well. They are pure carnivores. And you need to give a cat a high meat diet. So when you're looking at your foods for cats, you want to see proteins over 40. You want to see 80% of that protein come from meat. You're not going to get much higher than 40. The highest I've ever seen was a food from a company called Lysol.
Cool, what?
Lysol, that was 60. Okay? But you're going to get 40, 42, 44. That's what you're going to see. And that's what you're looking for. Once you get down to 30s, there's too much other stuff in that food.
Another question. I had looked at, there's this website where this gentleman, I guess he does it on his own, rates dog food and cat food.
There's a few of them. Yeah.
And both dry and wet.
Mhm.
There was one company that the name escapes me, but it was Canadian.
Mhm.
And I actually called them and they do not sell in the US, so
Mhm.
there goes that.
And that happens. There are a lot of companies that manufacture out of Canada. Okay, some of them are known. People like Champion Pet Foods is a Canadian company. They make Argentina. Peturian is a Canadian company. And there's a little bit of a thought that the standards in Canada are higher than the standards in the US, but that's totally not true.
No.
And they will tell you that themselves.
Oh.
There are companies now that are manufacturing in Europe. Companies like Farmina, which is Italian. They're manufacturing the EU standards. EU standards are much more stringent than US standards are. So you look at a little bit of that also when you're making your decisions. Made in the US, it's just as good as made in Italy. Okay, maybe even better. So you gotta keep that in mind. Okay, but there are foods that are made in Canada that stay in Canada. Foods that the company operates in the US, like Champion Pet Foods, make foods in Canada that don't sell in the US. Okay, so you're always going to have a little bit of that. We like to stay away from stuff made in China. Most of issues that have been most of historical issues coming out of China. You'll find a lot of products made in Brazil and Argentina, particularly treats. They're beef producing countries. So you're usually safe with beef coming from Brazil and Argentina. And it's usually a little cheaper than beef produced in the US. So that will do things like treat items like bully sticks. Okay? You know, you look most of the time now you're seeing South American beef being used. Occasionally you'll see Chinese beef being used, and you want to avoid those. Okay. Treats are a good thing to look at though, because we tend to not think about treats. We want to think about what's good for our dogs and cats. Treats, you apply the same standards you're applying to foods. You want good ingredients. People will buy chicken jerky to give to their dog, which is great. Chicken jerky is a good treat. Dogs love it. Read the bags. Some of them have a ton of sugar. You know, they look nice and orange. Of course, they got brown sugar. They got honey. Some look like they were just run over by a truck. And when you look at the ingredients, you'll see it's all chicken. It's all chicken breast. So you gotta look at that kind of stuff, because You want your treats to be, you want to be limited ingredient. You don't want a ton of ingredients in the treats. And if you do have a lot of ingredients, you want them to be natural ingredients. Now, some treats will throw things like parsley in there to give a taste. Some will throw Parmesan cheese in there to give a taste. That's fine. I mean, that's nothing wrong with Parmesan cheese. Especially if you're Italian like me, you grew up on it. Okay. So, but that, when you're looking at treats, that's what you don't look at. Now, biscuit type treats, you're going to have carbohydrate because it's a biscuit. It's going to be wheat based, or it's going to be rice based, or it's going to be flour based. And again, in moderation, it's fine. They shouldn't be eating half a bag of biscuits in a week. Okay? Because then you're going to get too many calories, you're going to gain weight, and if you got a dog that's got issues with hips and knees, that's going to just multiply. So we try to find things, ways that you can feed your animals that give them good, long-term, holistic health. Everything is connected. What you feed them is going to have an effect on their hearts, on their stomachs, on their joints. We're trying to figure out how to stem the growth of canine and feline diabetes, which is growing right now at out of control rates. How do you do that? Feed less sugar. Very little of this is controlled by organ problems. Most of it is diet related. Control the sugar. Then you're seeing a lot of cancers. Cancers now are used to affect older dogs. Now they're affecting younger dogs. And we don't know what's causing it. Again, it's similar to the cardiomyopathy and the grain-free foods. It's happening, but we don't know why. We don't know what the mechanism of action is. What can we do to stop it? You can't say what you can do to stop it if you don't know what's causing it. So again, stick natural. I like to say, stay natural. If you can cook yourself, you can give your dog your own food, then you know it goes into every bowl. Unfortunately, it's very difficult to give them a balanced diet. I think you asked me about raw foods?
Yes.
You can't get more natural than most raw foods from a reputable manufacturer.
Right, well, that would be the difference, that the manufacturers that make specific raw food diets, they add more than just meat to it so that it's more balanced as opposed to.
Well, it's got to be, you want it to be complete and balanced. But you can get the complete and balanced even with a raw food that's 100% meat. There's several brands that make foods that are 100% meat. And you can usually feed them, maybe you'll add a little bit of a can to it. Or maybe you'll chop up a little vegetable and put it in there. So get some of the minerals that you're not getting out of the meat. Generally it's copper and zinc that they have to add. Okay?
You mentioned how cats are carnivorous.
Mhm.
How about dogs? What is their percentage? I mean, they're less.
Dogs can digest almost any kind of food. They do better on meat protein. Again, because of the fact that meat protein causes synthesis of taurine in the body. And the less meat protein you have in the food, the less taurine is going to be synthesized in the body. And you want that. Plus meat protein also provides more support for things like muscles and bones than vegetable protein does. So you can feed a dog a vegetarian diet. You do got to supplement it with some meat protein.
Is there anything they can drink besides water, or is that?
Oh yeah. There are some really good products, again, I'm looking more on the raw side. Raw goat's milk. Loaded with taurine. Loaded with antioxidants. Very good for dogs. Raw cow's milk. Sometimes called kefir. Same situation. A lot of taurine, a lot of antioxidants. It feeds really well. In fact, a lot of people, including myself, will take some raw goat's milk and put it over my dog's food as like almost like gravy. My dogs I feed raw, and I feed a little kibble. Because raw, I got a 100-pound dog and an 80-pound dog, and feeding them straight raw would not be bankrupt right now. Okay. So we feed kibble, we cut the kibble in half, replaced it with raw, and put some goat's milk on top. and works extremely well. Again, we're sticking natural, we're trying to be as natural as possible. Now, we do have a problem, we probably give them too many treats. We're guilty of that too, but we're trying, okay? I give them a chicken jerky that's 100% chicken. I give them other stuff that's not necessarily 100%, but I can't help it.
How about human food? Some human foods. I know there's
One of
a
the
lot
issues with human
on the
foods is
list.
we tend to put salt in a lot of our foods, which is not good for dogs. We tend to put sugar in a lot of our foods, which is not good for dogs. So I try to recommend that you stay away from human food, unless it's something that's kind of natural. You want to give them some baby carrots? Great. Great treat. Sweet potato, little sweet potato, sliced sweet potato, excellent. Even if you want to buy it commercially and they have the dried sweet potato, great treat for dogs, low calorie. Most dogs like it. Very nutritional. Believe it or not, it's got less carbohydrates and a lower glycemic index than white potato. And it works out extremely well. You can get dried green beans in the store. You can get any kind of dried vegetable. Will work out really well, and it's
Broccoli.
long shelf life. Fresh broccoli, my dogs love broccoli. I can't stand it, but my dogs love it.
How about little pieces of bread or
So I stay away from bread.
stay away
Stay
from
away from bread. White bread particularly, it's just not good for them. Cheese, you can give them cheese.
Yeah.
In moderation. But if you give them too much cheese, they're going to gain some weight.
Right.
And whenever a dog isn't really active and can't burn all the carbohydrate, same thing as us, that carbohydrate turns into fat. You know, so it's almost logical, but you don't really think about that because the dog looks at you with those sad eyes. He's sitting next to you at the table. Okay. And because we all love our animals, we want to make them happy.
How about feeding fruits like bananas, apples, blueberries?
You can do bananas. Your dogs do eat bananas. You can do fresh bananas. You can do dried banana. They love that. Apple is another good one. Stay away from citrus. It's too acidic.
Apples are good though?
Apple is fine. Grapes are no-no.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Grapes are toxic to most dogs and cats. So we can't feed grapes. Grapes or any grape-related thing. Raisins, prunes, any of that kind of stuff. But they work out. I don't do pineapple, it's got too much sugar, I think. But apple, banana, perfect. Okay, again, in moderation. Now, moderation is really the catchword for everything. You can feed anything in moderation. It's when you get out of moderation that you have problems. I mean, dogs today